Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Rankin.
Here.
Councilmember Walter.
Here.
Councilmember Woolridge is absent this evening. Councilmember Hawkins.
Here.
Councilmember Gleam.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Wall.
Here.
Before we proceed, Mayor, I would like you to know that audio of this meeting is being captured. The videos are not working right now, so we have IT getting a handheld video camera, and as soon as they have that together, they will proceed with videotaping. We are capturing the meeting tonight under audio. It is due to technical difficulties.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time for a moment of silence, remembering everybody that's gone and passed. Just got through a Labor Day weekend, and but let's remember the young lives that have been lost in Pinal County here recently as we think and stand in a moment of silence, and then we'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is the first call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the Town Council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take any action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. Lisa, do you have any slips?
I do not, sir.
Does any member of the public have any comments they would make at this time? See, none of the five have anything to say. Close call to the public.
Item 6, public hearings and presentations. Item 6A, public hearing on a request by Solar Star Arizona 7 LLC, a subsidiary of SunPower Corporation Systems SunPower, for approval of an application proposing a zone change from initial comparable zoning, single residential ranchette, to planned unit development zoning to develop a photovoltaic solar facility on approximately 282 acres of land. The Bonnybrook Solar Project is proposed utility-scale photovoltaic solar energy facility planned on the subject site that generally bounded by Diversion Dam Road to the south, the Bonnybrook Road alignment to the north, Padilla Road to the west, and Quail Run Road alignment to the east. And first reading of ordinance number 637-15, an ordinance of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving Bonnybrook Solar Project Planned Unit Development, PZ 1548 PUD.
Mark?
Mayor and Council, good evening. And I'd like to present this case real quickly. We've been talking actually about this project for a few meetings, so I'll keep it relatively brief. But it is the same solar project that we've been talking about east of town, heading out on Diversion Dam Road. And the site is part of a slightly larger piece of land that's being proposed to be annexed. The majority of this property consists of the annexation area. There's a little bit more land that's in the annexation area south of this land that won't be developed with this project. But what they are proposing to do is a full-scale solar farm project on the property. And the property is about 300 acres. And this is quite a large solar project. We're probably looking at about a 50 megawatt project, which is more than twice the size of the project that we did on Bella Vista a while back. But like the project that we did on Bella Vista, this is a project that will be done by SunPower. The one up on Bella Vista was SunPower and Iberdrola Renewables. Here we're working with SunPower. The property owners are the Clarks that have been around here for a long time. They've been farming this property, and they are looking to sell the property and have it developed for the solar farm. In addition to the annexation request, we do have the zoning request. There also concurrently is a minor general plan amendment being proposed on the property, and that will be heard at the next meeting when you meet, because that is a resolution that can be handled in one meeting. We'll have a public hearing on the general plan amendment, and then hopefully approval of the resolution. And then tonight we have the public hearing on the zoning, and also later in the agenda we're addressing the first reading of the annexation ordinance. So on the 21st, everything will come together in the sequence of events. We'll have about 4 items that will come together and bring this project to fruition, and then they will finally get to go to the construction stage on this project. They're getting their plans all geared up and getting ready to go. We're anxiously awaiting the start of this project. And as you know, we're actually working on the construction of the other solar farm on Hunt Highway right now. As you can see, the construction activity beginning there. So the zoning in particular, this is a straightforward PUD zoning to allow this use. Instead of going to a straight industrial that potentially might have allowed a lot of other potential uses, really all they wanted to do on the property is either continue to farm it as they are today or get the solar farm approved. So that is specifically what this zoning does, is it allows the project to move forward. And I'd be happy to address any questions you may have, and I'll note again that this is a public hearing on this case tonight.
Does any member of the council have any questions to Mark prior to going into the public hearing?
I'd just like to thank the Solar Star for their efforts that they've made here in educating us and telling us what's going on.
It's very important tonight that everyone speak directly into their microphones. The only thing we have is audio. We just make sure it's clear and defined.
Okay. Again, I'd like to thank the applicant tonight for all the efforts that they've put forward in educating us and explaining what's going on and the tours that they've had. I know I appreciate that, and I think the other members do too.
Any other? Okay, at this time I'm open the public hearing. Does any member of the public have anything you'd like to discuss about this annexation and about this development? Seeing none, I'll close public hearing.
Item 6B. At this time, I would like to ask Councilmember Anderson to come down. This is a presentation of Years of Service Award to Tom Rankin for 12 years of service and dedication to effective local government in Arizona. Councilmember Anderson was at the League of Arizona Cities and Towns where this award was issued, and he'll be making a small presentation to Mayor Rankin.
Wait for the camera.
If you like Bob Barker, what was that? Let's make a deal?
Are you ready?
No, I want to get the camera on. They want to put the camera on so we can break it again. Okay, well, let's go ahead. If they're 10 minutes, we're not going to wait that long.
Well, on behalf of the Arizona League of Cities and Towns and also the town of Florence, I'd like to present you with this award of service for, I think at the meeting it was 12 years of service, but I think we all recognize that the mayor's given us more than 12 years. So maybe we need to put a footnote on the bottom of this for, what is it, 33 years or something?
30 years.
30 years. Thank you so much, Mayor.
Thank you. You know, folks, John said 30 years. In 1980, when I went to work for the town of Florence, you wouldn't have believed what we are now compared to then. We didn't have a fire department. It was a volunteer fire department. We have full-time, one of the best small fire departments in the state as far as I'm concerned. We had 7-member police department. We had a public works department that was all relatives. Since then, I mean, that's the way it was. Our parks and recreation was mainly the Little League field. Now take a look at what we've accomplished over the last 30 years. Florence in 1980 was 2 square miles. Now we're up to 63, 65 miles. It's protecting the future of Florence these annexations do for us, and that's what I'm going to continue to work for. I've had lots of good council members that have supported my actions. Some of my actions have not been supported, but when I get defeated, I go along with the wishes of the council and make things happen. Might not be the way Tom Rankin would have done it, but it's the way the council wanted it, and that's what I did. I am been blessed to spend almost half of my life dedicated to the citizens of Florence. 35 years, and I'm only 50. Started young. And I can tell you now that we have an election coming up next year, and I am telling you that I will be running again for mayor. I want to continue on. I have projects I want to see get completed. I want other projects to do that we can do for the betterment of Florence. We've got a bunch of land right here north that we need to develop. We'll be working on it. We're working on land down south that'll be brought in, 4,600 units. That project and this project here will finally, hopefully, get here during the next 4 years that we can have a grocery store in town. Because if you ask the citizens, that's the number one thing they want, is a good grocery store. So we're headed that way. And John, again, you were down at the league conference. I thank you very much for presenting this. And we only have one more of these to do, and I'll do it here in just a minute. Thanks, John.
Item C, presentation of Years of Service Award to Tom Smith for 12 years of service and dedication to effective local government in Arizona.
Tom? Not too fast. Tom, this was again presented down at the league to us. You and I both got one at the same time. 12 years of service to the and dedicated service. I shouldn't just say service, but dedicated service to the town of Florence. The citizens appreciate it. The councils you've been on appreciate it. Our town staff appreciate it. 12 years is a long time. That's 3 terms running for election. And you were successful in each time, and I congratulate you on that. But I also congratulate you for being my friend and somebody that I've worked with. You were vice mayor twice. I appreciate it. And hopefully we got a whole bunch more years together. He wants to take a picture. No. See you later. Tom said he'd see us later. Okay, Tom, thank you very much.
Item 7, consent. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda unless a council member or member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A, proclamation of the mayor declaring the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2015 at Constitution Week. Item B, proclamation of the mayor declaring September 2015 as Grand Family Kinship Care Month. Item C, approval of accepting the registers of demands ending July 31st, 2015, in the amount of $6,449,280.36. Mayor, members of council, that is your consent agenda this evening.
Does any member of the council have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda? Does any member of the public have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
New business, item A, ordinance number 635-15, first reading of an ordinance of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, extending and increasing the corporate limits of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona pursuant to the provisions of Title IX, Chapter 4, Article 7 of Arizona Revised Statutes, and amending thereto by annexing certain territories contiguous to the existing town limits of the Town of Florence. The Bonnybrook Solar Project Annexation Number 2015-02. Mr. Eckhoff will be presenting.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, yeah, I believe you're experts on what we're doing here already. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them, but this is the first reading of the annexation ordinance. Public hearing is not required.
Does any member of the council have any questions of Mark? Lisa, we don't have to take any action, right? Just first reading?
First reading only, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Item B, ordinance 639-15, first reading of ordinance of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, amending the Florence Town Code by striking section 1015 and 30.45 to 30.51 and creating new section 1015 and 30.45 to 30.53 entitled Ordinances and Resolutions. Mayor and members of council, tonight you'll see that we are doing a little bit of house cleaning on our town code. We're going back in and putting in layman terms for the town code so that everyone knows exactly what it takes to get an ordinance adopted by council, what the requirements are after the ordinance is adopted, and if it has a penalty within the section, where the proper place for the ordinance to be posted. And so it's just a housekeeping item, and this is the first reading. You will see this one more time at next meeting prior to adoption. If you have any questions at all, I'd be happy to address it.
Any member of the council have any questions, Lisa?
I've got a couple questions. One on the second page under 30.47.
New 30.47 or old 30.47?
I guess it's the
That'll be, John, are we talking about not the ones with lines?
Huh?
Not the one with lines, the ones without the lines.
Okay.
I think you're talking about the second one, aren't you?
30.47, yes. What is your question, sir?
the sentence there that says shall have two separate readings each different days.
Uh-huh.
What's 2 p.m.? Each p.m.? What's that mean?
It's supposed to say on.
Okay, okay.
That was, where was that at?
We did find typographical errors within this ordinance, and we will be bringing back a clean ordinance to the next meeting.
Okay. I found another as well.
Anything else, John? No other member of the council have any questions? Okay, thank you.
I lost my agenda, sir. I apologize. Item C, Resolution 156015, discussion approval, disapproval of a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, establishing regular meeting location, dates, and times for Town of Florence, Town Council, Board, and Commissions. Mayor and members of council, again, this is a housekeeping item. One of the things that we are doing is we are trying to establish meeting locations and times for our board and commissions, planning to have the Florence Town Council and the Planning and Zoning Commission remain in this building. That would free up this building to where when we needed to have a special meeting, we could have it on any day and any time. What we're going to be doing is moving all of the boards and commissions that do not need to be filmed over to the recreation center and library area in our new facility. What this will mean is that that building is already cooled during specific hours, so this building will not have to be cooled down to be able to have nighttime meetings. We'll be saving energy costs. We'll be establishing an identity for that building as those board and commission places.
Does any member of the council have any questions for Lisa?
I've got another question. Next to the very last sentence it says, all agendas will be posted in accordance to the Arizona Open Meeting Laws and posted per town policies.
That's correct, sir.
Is that town code or town policies?
There is, the Arizona Open Meeting Law states that we have to post it 24 hours prior to the meeting. That is a state law. Town policies. In the next item that's on the agenda tonight, you're establishing your policies. And so that is a policy that is adopted by resolution and is a policy.
Should we put in there the policy number?
It is a resolution number, but it changes. So each time that we change the policy, we would have to go back and change this resolution. I can do that if you would like me to.
No, I just want clarification to make sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lisa, my question is, have all the boards and commission been advised of this, or is there any changes?
All of the board and commission liaisons have been advised of this. Everyone has viewed the resolution prior to us bringing it to council this evening.
Okay, thank you. And we need a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 1560-15. Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1560-15. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item D, resolution number 1561, discussion, approval, disapproval of a resolution of the Town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, amending the Florence Town Council Rules and Procedures effective October 8, 2015. Mayor and members of council, what I did was we went ahead and with our new attorney, we reviewed the rules of the council agenda as it pertains to formalizing your agenda process, where we post, why we post at the places that we post. And it was perfect timing for the Arizona Ombudsman to be in town and make those suggestions. So your town attorney and I were able to go back in and add those suggestions into our policy and procedure. So the way we presented the policy and procedure is we did it by red line. So you can see what's been stricken and what has been added. So we can go through each one of those if you like, or we can go through just the ones that you have questions on. Please let me know how you'd like me to proceed.
Has everybody had a chance to look at these? Is there anything that you need to ask Lisa about or need clarification on?
No.
Okay, will be coming back to us at a future date, right, Lisa?
This is for adoption, sir. I would like to take note, as per the Arizona Ombudsman, it changes. What we're doing is we're taking call to the council to be called to the council / current events. That means that it's very, very, very strict on what can be discussed. Also, at call to the public, I will just remind council that we put in at the end a public comment the council can address. So make sure that we are doing things in accordance with what the Arizona Ombudsman did state. At a future meeting, we are going to be coming before council and we're going to be discussing elections and how we handle basically people going forward and politicking on the floor. Laws have gotten very strict on what cities and towns can do in association with elections. So we want to make sure that we do have rules in place that have been approved by our town attorney, and that prior to us calling an election, that we have something that we can post to the public so the public knows the rules and regulations as well as the council, so we can try as best as we can to be within those laws.
Any other?
I do have one quick question. can you define current events? In other words, can we not compliment a staff member or make a comment about something that has transpired within the town?
The interesting part is the Arizona Ombudsman made it clear that underneath call to the council that she felt that the particular call to the council was for any item that was on the agenda or on a report. So if the event, if we just got through with 4th of July and you want to compliment the Parks and Rec director on a fabulous 4th of July, I'm sure something like that would be listed in his report that would allow you to go in and say, underneath the reports where 4th of July was discussed, I just want to tell you that I think you did a fabulous job. It's at the time to where there's nothing pending before council or on the floor, and we are having discussions because each member of council is discussing a particular topic, and it goes through. That's where she said we got into trouble. She did not give us a definition of current events, but I'm sure there's one listed in the state statutes.
I doubt it.
Cliff says he's not sure there is.
The whole thing about that current events is, I don't think we've been doing anything wrong to begin with. I think what we've been doing up here and addressing the issues presented are fine. You know, if you want to say congratulations to the high school football team for winning the game, I don't see where we should, if somebody wants to jig us on that, let them jig us, I guess.
Well, the interesting part of the open meeting law is where the teeth lie in the open meeting law. If you violate the open meeting law, what happens is you have to go back and ratify the action, correct? And if there's no action to ratify, then if you say congratulations to the Florence High School team for winning Friday's game, I would consider that a current event. Cliff?
Yeah, I mean, I agree, Mayor and members of the council, I agree. I don't think the statute defines current event. I think that's more of a position that's been taken by the Attorney General's office over time and with the Ombudsman to try and be reasonable, because many cities throughout Arizona have some form of call to the public. So, I think the further you go towards a discussion of items that are not on an agenda, probably the further away we get from what is permissible in the eyes of the Ombudsman.
And I think we ought to take in consideration what's going on at CAC right now. The Attorney General sitting back said no open meeting violation when they had people locked out of the building. We don't do that here. If we know that we're going to have an overcrowded deal, we set up the speakers in the lobby, and if we know we're going to have a big meeting. So I think if we just take this with a little bit of common sense, we'll be in good shape.
I have a question on the open call. At what point can we council members ask to put something on the agenda for the next meeting?
Under call to the public or even call to the council is allowed to address staff to ask them to place an item on the agenda. That's very clear within the statutes. It even lists that underneath call to the public. If a member of the public comes up and asks for something, you can ask for that to be placed on a future meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
The key to it is they'd like the items agendized.
Thank you.
And it goes along too with if we have something we want staff to address and we think it doesn't need to come in front of the council, we can direct staff to get with the person commenting and see if they can't work it out before it has to come back to us.
I know that's what we've always done. I just didn't want trouble for doing that again.
Again, this is an information-only item for tonight. Next meeting will be on the agenda again.
Well, okay, you're right. This is an information-only item.
Well, it says staff recommends council to adopt the resolution.
That's what my question was. It doesn't show for action, it shows for information only tonight. That's what my question was.
Being that the RCA is worded that way, we are going to bring it back to the next meeting to have it on for action.
Yeah.
Thank you. If no other any other questions? Okay, Lisa.
Discussion, approval, disapproval of renewal and extension of prosecutor for legal services agreement with Richard V. Husk of the law offices of Richard V. Husk LLC for prosecutor services with a term extending through October 31st, 2015.
Any member of the council have any questions? I know what Cliff's going to say. Cliff's going to say he's learning, and he's getting closer.
Yeah, Mayor, members of the council, this is just to clarify with Mr. Husk the need for him on some continuing matters that are probably good that he remains involved in on some cases that are coming up. And he has been working with me on the prosecution. And this is just to clarify the contract so you all know what's going on also.
And I do know that they've been in here working together. I see him just about every time I'm in here, so he's getting closer. Any other questions? Need a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve a renewal and extension of prosecutor legal service agreement with Richard V. Husk at the law offices of Richard V. Husk LLC for prosecutor services with a term extending through October 31st, 2015.
Second.
Can we get on there the amount paid not to exceed $10,000? The motion.
Yes, not to exceed $10,000.
Bill, you go along with that?
Yes, I'll second that.
Okay, any other discussion? We have a motion on the table to approve a renewal and extension of prosecutor legal service agreement with Richard V. Husk of the law offices of Richard V. Husk LLC for prosecutor services with a term extending through October 31st, 2015, not to exceed $10,000. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item F, discussion approval, disapproval of administrative memorandum to temporarily lessen the enforcement of sign code regulations. Mayor, member of council, before I turn it over to Mr. Eckhoff, I just want you to know that this is an item that I have requested Mr. Eckhoff place on this agenda. Based on the court case of Reed versus Town of Gilbert, the Town of Florence does have some major amendments to make to our sign code, along with all of the other cities and towns within the state. We want to make sure that we are taking our time, we are doing it the right way, and that when we come before you with the code, that we have something that we are able to put into place and be confident that it's not going to create more difficulties for the Town of Florence. So at this time, I will ask Mr. Eckhoff to address you.
Mayor, Council, well, that probably gives a quick summary as it is, but a while back, actually, we did something similar when we had some issues with changing the codes on A-frames and banners and other promotional signs. And for a couple of years, we actually experimented with some changes with that, and we did a similar memo, and we saw how things worked out, and it worked out really well, and we ultimately changed the code. This is, of course, on a much larger scale. For the past year and a half, maybe longer, we've been kind of in limbo as we waited to see how this case ended up through the court system, the Gilbert case. And just a little while ago, we saw how it ended up, and it kind of changed the reality of sign codes throughout the country. Probably is barely a sign code out there that would fully meet the law, the constitutional requirements that were decided in this case. It was a really dramatic finding, and we're also seeing that the Reed versus the Town of Gilbert case is actually spilling over into a lot of other things. So the gist of the case essentially came down to making sure that when you are regulating signs, that you are regulating them as equitably, as equally as possible, and not having a set of regulations for one commercial sign and another set of regulations for another commercial sign. Essentially being able to look at the back of a sign to regulate it so that you are clearly not regulating what the content of the sign. So it should not matter if it's a commercial sign what the sign says. What we need to really focus on is where the sign can be located, the size of the sign, is it illuminated, is it not illuminated, how is it constructed. So we need to go in and make sure we address those things. We also have, it's been on our plate to kind of just streamline the code, make it a little bit more user-friendly. I don't think the code is broken, but certainly, these types of codes need to be updated once in a while. And what this process does, and I thank the town manager and also the town attorney for being so proactive on this matter. But what this really does is officially it says, you know what, we're going to proceed with caution here for a few months and not do anything crazy that potentially could get the town in trouble or create any controversy with anyone. We want to be fair, we want to be reasonable, and we want to proceed with updating the code. And it will be a comprehensive update of the code. We've been to various meetings out there. The town attorney is going to legal meetings regarding this issue. I've been going to planning meetings and dealing with the sign association. We have now one model code that we're looking at. We're hoping that a couple other pioneers will pop up some models that we can follow, and we'll do a complete overhaul of the code. Going through that process, of course, Mayor, Council, we'd like to hold at least one work session more as necessary with the Planning Commission and the Council, and that may be separate meetings or that may be a combined meeting, but we want to make sure that everybody is involved in this process, and we would invite stakeholders, business owners, developers, et cetera, to that meeting as well. And I think we'll end up with a product that is fairly comparable to what we have today, which again is not a horrible code by any means, but we'll make sure that it passes muster with the community and in regards to this Supreme Court case. So that is it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to address any questions you may
Any
have.
questions for Mark?
Well, there's one suggestion he made. I think we should probably combine the meeting, if we have a work session with planning and zoning, that way, I mean, why have more than one meeting? We can all discuss it at one time.
And that way we're all on the same
We're all
page.
on the same page, yep. I think that would be more efficient.
Thank you, Bill. John?
I have a question about the exception of any existing permanent or temporary on-site or off-site commercial signs, except enforcement of such signs is necessary for the life safety purposes. Does that relate to signs that are in the line of view at intersections? Are we going to outlaw those now? Are we going to start enforcing that part of our code?
Councilmember Anderson, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, clearly that would probably be the number one offense that we deal with, and unfortunately, especially in regards to temporary signs, that's something that we keep seeing popping up, and we have to contend with that. Yes, signs that are placed that are blocking the vision triangle, typically they are temporary banners and so forth that are out there. Any other sign where we know that it's creating potentially a hazard, is blocking the visibility, it's out in the middle of the road, whatever the case may be, those we will continue to address. And the legal folks have said clearly that that is within our realm to do so. So we're going to be cautious, but we're not, but we will enforce those types of violations.
What about the trailers? I mean, the safety issue there, because all the trailers out in our area have all blown over in the last year. That's got to be a safety issue.
Yes, and I want you to know that, Member Anderson, Mayor, Council members, we are looking at several sign issues throughout the community right now, and we ultimately would like to get to a point where we will make sure that all those issues are addressed. So when a new code is adopted, the issue will be that we're going to have some signs potentially that may not comply with the new code, and we may determine even that some of those may be illegal signs, or some of them may be determined to be non-conforming valid signs. So if they are determined that they are illegal, they will not be allowed to continue forward. If they are determined to be legal under old codes but no longer under new codes, they will be determined to be valid non-conforming signs, and they will ultimately be eliminated as they fall over, as they're removed, as they wanted to be upgraded, and so forth. So We will, with the code update, we will be concurrently addressing all of those issues. In regards to trailers specifically, we are actually talking to one of the companies that has some trailers and looking at those not as signs at the moment, but just as where construction trailers can be properly placed. If it's in an area where construction is occurring, or if they're randomly placed off the side of a construction area. But we are looking at those as an issue of where construction trailers can be placed, and not looking at that as a sign issue.
Well, what about the trailers that are just there for sign issues? Are you going to get those removed?
The trailers that are not on the side of an active construction site, yes, we are trying to have those placed in a manner where they are on an active construction site, and then they would be related to development, and we're not looking at those as signs per se. So I know it's a little complicated, but we're trying to separate the issues because we're being extra cautious on signs. But the trailers, I believe we can look at as a different way, as essentially just off-site construction trailers and how they're stored and where they may be parked.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other? Well, okay, I got a couple. You're going to be bringing back information to both the planning, zoning, and the council as far as so that we can go ahead with developing our ordinance. Is that correct?
Mayor, Council, we would like to look at least the model ordinance that we have now, and maybe we'll collect a couple more, and I'll work with the town attorney to put it into maybe Florence language, and then we'll have something to discuss. So when we have a work session with you, Mayor and Council, and with the Planning and Zoning Commission, we have a document to be going through, and we can look through that and say, well, you know, what exactly do we want to change in here? What should our standards be for signs in a commercial area, or signs in a residential area, or A-frame signs or banner signs? Is there anything that we don't like about signs that we have now, or are there signs that we don't have that we want to have? Do we want to make them bigger? Do we want to make them smaller? But we'll be able to, once we have a code that we can present to you, we can walk through it and make modifications that would suit the community.
Is the Arizona Planning Association that you were president of, I don't know if you still are or not, are they doing anything with this?
Mayor, members of the council, I'm still sitting on the board as past president, and actually we did have a workshop on it, and we had a lot of attorneys and sign industry folks come forward, and actually the town attorney attended with me, and it was an excellent workshop. And in fact, the idea that what we're doing tonight, it kind of came out of that, where we need to be extra cautious. On the other hand, we don't want to go to the extreme of having a total moratorium on signs, and in fact, we've got development agreements out there that say that we can't have any moratorium period, so we want to be cautious on that. So we're working on it. The Arizona Sign Association, the International Sign Association, the International Municipal Attorneys Association, there's various groups that are working on it, but for some reason, because it's a very sticky, controversial, delicate Supreme Court decision, there haven't been very many communities that have jumped up to be the first in line in doing this. So the model ordinances are coming, but slowly and surely.
And I would assume that that's going to. Do you have any idea how long this is going to take?
Mayor, Council, we are looking. I'm guesstimating right now that we're probably in a 6 to 8 month process. So,
Okay.
And during that time, it's clearly our intention that we would not prohibit somebody from getting a permit for a sign that is lawfully permitted. And if there is a question of potentially denying a sign that we have any concern about, we would be extra cautious in reviewing that scenario, of course.
Now, you said 6 to 8 months, and at that time, within that time period, we have an election coming up.
We're planning to go back to council in November and at least start discussing some of the issues with the Planning and Zoning Commission and the council so that we can be working towards, the town attorney does have a first draft of a sign code. Do you want to talk about that?
Mayor, members of the council, just for your edification, the International Municipal Lawyers Association has created their first draft of a model code that was just distributed a few days ago, which means it will change. And of course, each municipality throughout the country really may use that. They're not required to use that model ordinance. So the tough part with this decision, this Reed case, is it's being interpreted by different interested parties in different ways, and even the justices in the decision, even though they, for the most part, agree on a judgment or a final decision, they have different ways of going about it in the opinion. So it's actually a fairly complicated case, and I think lawyers and planners around the country are struggling a little bit on how to apply it in reality for their municipality. And it really covers the whole spectrum of not doing anything and waiting and seeing to trying to be proactive. And I think consensus-wise here on staff, we were thinking it's better to be proactive than wait and do nothing. And so we're tracking that IMLA ordinance. So far, we haven't seen any other ordinances of a broad scope that have been presented in Arizona, but we're keeping our eyes open and in touch with the league, trying to track it as closely as we can.
So while it may be 6 months before something is adopted and in place, you are going to be working on this. You are going to be meeting with Mr. Eckhoff and the Planning and Zoning Commission prior to, and Mark's team is going to be actively working on this as well as the town attorney.
That's great in all this. I think we also need to keep in mind what signs are there for, the majority of them. And that's for our businesses to advertise where they're at and what they're doing. I think we need to keep that in mind as we're developing this ordinance, that we're elected by the people here, and we represent the people, and we should be helping and working with the people as far as their advertisement. That's pretty cheap form of advertising in most of the places, unless you get some farmer that's going to get you for a whole bunch of money for putting up, a sign on your property that they're not using anyway. But, when we're adopting this, we need to really be careful of the merchants on Main Street and in the newer areas of town. You go up to Scottsdale and you can't find anything because they got their signs hidden all over the place and their architecture design and everything like that. So we need to be careful when we're developing this. And I think that it's needed. I hated to see that ruling come down the way it did. And that'll keep a lot of attorneys busy fighting it and being for it. So there we are.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I would hope that as part of our discussion that any signs that are in violation to the new code, we would know about it before we would consider that code,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'd hate to pass some regulation and go downtown and tell everybody, you got to take your signs down.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
We'll send the chief.
No, I don't want to do that at all, but yeah, it's a good point.
But we got to keep that in mind.
Certainly.
We're still small enough that we got these merchants, they need that help. And the signage, it needs to be proper, and I think we've done a good job, I think, here in town. And but let's just take a look at it and keep the common sense factor in there too, if we can keep the attorneys out. Oh, I'm sorry, Cliff. Okay. Any other discussion? Need a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve an administrative memorandum to temporarily lessen the enforcement of sign code regulations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve an administrative memorandum to temporarily lessen the enforcement of sign code regulations. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Manager's report. You got anything you want to report on, Lisa?
The report is in the
What's that?
Report is in the packet, sir.
Okay. Does any member of the council have any questions of any of the manager or any of the department heads that are available tonight?
I've got one for Mark Eckhoff.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had a lot of inquiries lately because of, Taco Bell coming in. But then I guess across the street, somebody put up a hand-painted sign over there, being we're on signs. But anyway, I said, I haven't heard anything on it. I don't know who put it up or if somebody obviously did it on their own because I haven't seen anything come before planning and zoning on it. But I thought, well, I'd inquire and see what, if you know anything about it.
Mayor, members of the council, Member Hawkins, yes, the owner of that property, which owns the adjacent shopping center as well, he was in negotiations with another taco establishment to locate on that site. And those negotiations have seemed to have stalled a little bit, so I think he got a little anxious in putting that sign out there. We'll talk to him and get an update of where that project is and if that's still going forward and whether the sign still needs to be there or not. And then across the street, the Taco Bell, they did do some fire training on the building, and they are working with the Historical Society on relocating an ice box. The plans have been approved for the Taco Bell. They're sitting, waiting to be picked up. They are just putting their final ducks in a row, getting their contractor together and so forth. We really hope that the Taco Bell is kicking off construction this month. We're getting close.
Well, I hadn't gotten any complaints on it as such, other than people wondering, are they going to put two taco places across from each other? And I said, I don't know. I'll try to find out. So.
There is a potential for that.
Okay.
Still can't get a Taco Bell to put in Kentucky Fried Chicken in there?
Apologize for that, Mayor.
Man, I think that'd be the great thing, like the one in Coolidge. Any other question, any other department heads?
Yeah, I've got a question on Public Works. Show that you did a traffic control analysis out at Merrill Ranch Parkway, Sun City Boulevard, and Constitution. What were the results of those analyses?
What we did over there was basically put in some oversized stop signs there. We have pavement markings schedules indicating stop at that location. And also we put a stop ahead sign on the south side and on the north side of Merrill Ranch Parkway in order to give more visibility to sign. And also in conjunction with Pulte, they on their own volition at our request, removed a lot of the tree limbs in the area that was blocking the sight of view for both signs that we put up. The only thing left that we need to do is put up the pavement markings indicating the stop ahead. The balance of the intersections have been reviewed, and there's no issue in regards to stop control at that location. On Constitution, we did put a stop ahead sign on that stop sign because of visibility issues with the landscaping.
Well, the storm helped them out a little bit too. Thank you.
Any other? Okay, this will be the second call to the public. If any member of the public have anything they'd like to say, come forward. Seeing no movement, I'll close call to the public, call to the council. John?
I have nothing tonight. I have nothing. Thank you.
Becky?
Yes, I would like to really thank the mayor and Tom Smith for their years of service to the town of Florence. Both have worked very, very hard for the town, and especially the mayor of this town. He's always had the best interest and the love of Florence and the community at heart in everything that he did. And we have made tremendous strides for a very long time. Thank you.
Bill?
I have nothing.
Karen?
I had the pleasure of taking a Cook's tour of the new library and community center, and I just want to encourage anyone who has not been there yet to go take a look. It is absolutely beautiful, and there's lots of neat things that we can all take advantage of.
Tara?
I do not have anything this evening.
Becky, thank you for the kind words. It's been my pleasure to serve the people of Florence for many years I have. Takes dedication, not of just me, but of the department heads, to make it successful, and we've done that. Remind all your kids, neighbors and friends and relatives to obey our traffic laws. We've been lucky here. We don't need to suffer the consequences of what Coolidge and Maricopa have had to go here recently. Back in the 60s, there was a cheerleader from Coolidge. Mickey, you might remember this, coming to Florence, and she lost her life too. So that's 50 years ago or so. And Mickey, wasn't her name Sherry Soma? And another cheerleader from Coolidge. We don't want that for our kids. Please, you see a kid driving crazy, if you know who he is, don't be afraid to tell his parents or his grandparents, because if it's my grandkids, there'll be a boot up somewhere. But our future is our kids, and we need to keep that in mind in whatever we do. Need a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
I have a motion, second, adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.